Hello, ladies. Welcome to today's Friday Live. Okay, I'm going to hold on one second here, Facebook. Okay, I'm now live. I don't know if I was just live a second ago or not. I'm going to repeat that. Welcome to today's Friday Live. I hope that you're all having an awesome day and that you've had a great week. Let's see. All right, today's topic is on failure. And I titled it, Learn to Embrace the Suck, because sometimes failing sucks. So let's just go ahead and get into it, and hopefully some of you join live. If not, I hope that you're watching the replay, and feel free to give me some comments down below whenever you want. So let's get rolling. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to stop for a minute and think about a time when you failed at something, and think about how it felt when you failed. So I'm going to pause for just a minute. How did that feel? Okay, and once you kind of have an idea of how that felt, ask, why did you feel that way? What about failing made you feel that way? Okay, so we got that in our head. Now, step outside of yourself for a minute and think about a baby learning to walk, like a 1-year-old learning how to walk, okay? They fail over and over and over again, right? They're constantly falling, they're constantly getting back up. Once they finally get steady on their feet, they've probably fallen hundreds of times, but they don't think anything of it. It doesn't consider them to not continue trying to walk. So why do you think that is? So here is what I propose. Maybe not a popular opinion. That's okay. I don't mind. Maybe it is a popular opinion. We'll see. But what I propose is that failing is not what we're afraid of, and failing isn't really what we hate, I guess. It's not the failing itself, it's the judgment that we feel from other people when we fail, right? If you fail alone and no one's around, it might suck for a minute, but you figure it out and you keep going. If you fail in front of people, how's that different, right? If you publicly are doing something, even if you're doing it in private, if publicly people know, you know that people are going to ask you, how did it go? And what do we hate? We don't necessarily hate the fact that it didn't work. I mean, we don't like it, but what we hate more is that we have to tell someone, we have to admit that we failed, right? So it's always that judgment and the fear of judgment that gets to us more so than the failure itself. So how you're perceived by other people bothers you. You fear that maybe someone's going to laugh at you, or that someone is going to ask you how it went, and that's what sucks, right? So we're going to call that step 1 to embracing the suck. So we need to start to truly care less about what other people think. Most of us say, I don't care what people think. Yeah, you do. We all do. I tell people, I say I don't care what people think too, and I do. That's a lie. I totally care. So when we truly, really start to get to that point where we really don't care what other people think, that's when we can really start to embrace failing. So when we've embraced it, we're going to fail more. We're going to, in turn, be more successful. Okay, so that's going to lead us into our next thing. So I think another important thing to consider too is that realistically, anyone who might judge your failure really is probably just jealous that you were brave enough to try it to begin with. That's a nice thing for us to say and tell ourselves, and it's the truth, but we have to really get ourselves to a point where we truly don't care. And I have very personal experience with that. Just recently, since I've started my business, left teaching, excuse me, and started my personal training business, that was a very public thing. And I really spent a lot of time in my first few months of running my business caring about what other people around me think. So I had to really, truly, inside of me, learn to accept that it doesn't really matter what someone else thinks, because you know what? They're not paying my bills. They're not living in my house. They're not anything. It doesn't matter what they think. What matters is what I think, and that if I'm happy and if I'm satisfied with what I'm doing. So I'm willing to bet some of you might have some similar experiences, and feel free to share any of those below. So why do we need to embrace this? I kind of alluded to it just a second ago, but when we embrace our failures, we're truly embracing ourselves. We're embracing our situation, our limitations, and all of the possibilities that could be, okay? So when we embrace our reality, where it stands right now, right at this second, it gives us this incredible opportunity that you can't otherwise have to know exactly where you are so that you can formulate a plan to get to where you're going, right? You just can't know where you are until you failed. So I have an example because the gym is just sort of what I know. I have a gym example, and myself, I'm a power lifter, and I lift really heavy things all the time. And all of my programming is designed using a percentage of the 1 rep max that I can lift on any given lift, say squat, bench, or deadlift. So basically, if you don't know, if you're not familiar with that phrase, what that means is how much weight you can lift one time on any given exercise. So the only way for me to really truly know what is my 1 rep max is that I have to eventually fail. I have to continue adding weight to the bar. I have to continue trying until I fail my lift. It's the only way to know. So once I know exactly where I am, because here's where I was last successful, here is where I failed, this is where we go back to. All of my percentages are based off of that. If I formulated my percentages for my programming based off of attempts that I made that were successful, but I didn't continue to truly see how high I could go, none of my training would be effective, and I would never get to where I'm going, and I would never achieve the goals that I have for myself as a power lifter, because all of the training that I do would be based off of weights that are too low, and I would never continue to grow and develop. So knowing exactly where you are at exactly this moment is the only way you can truly formulate a plan to get to wherever it is that you want to be, okay? As much as it sucks to fail, we have to fail to know. Second, your failures, and more specifically how you respond to those failures, are the things that inspire other people constantly. So you're going to fail, take a minute, embrace the suck, right? Soak it in, accept what happened, face the disappointment, the frustration, whatever, and then take some time to look at what can I adjust, what went wrong, and maybe more important, what went right in that attempt at whatever it was. We have to learn from it, okay? How can we adjust to it? And then based on that information, we're going to formulate a new plan that you can then put into action. And this is where embracing the suck pays off. We put this into action, and then we go. We work another step towards success. So people are not ever inspired by someone who fails and then whines about it and dwells on it and complains about it and continually brings it up, right? We're inspired by the people who fail, who accept it, who learn from it, get a new plan of action, and continue going forward. Those are the people that we talk about, like, oh, what an inspiration this person was. We don't, the people that fail and just sit there don't inspire us, right? You got to keep going. So you let it transform you let it transform your plan, and then you can succeed at whatever it is that you're trying to do. So an example of that is Oprah. She's a great example of that. She was fired on her first, from her first job on TV. Do you know that? I didn't know that. I looked it up. She was fired from her first job on TV. She could have quit right then. She could have said, TV is not for me. I'm not going to do this. She could have completely changed her entire goals and plan based off of that one failure. Or she can continue plugging ahead. She can go on to have the most successful talk show in the history of television. She can have her own TV channel now, I think she has, giving away cars. You get a car, you get a car, right? Oprah's giving everybody stuff. Had she quit at that first failure, none of that ever would have been. So, just something to consider. Be like Oprah. So the last thing I want to say, and we're going to wrap it up here, is I want you to just think about, consider the mindset shift that failure is not personal. Everybody fails. All of us fail. We fail all the time at everything. Little things, big things, we're always failing. But what's personal about it is, what are you going to learn from it? Okay? What will you take away from every individual failure so that you can create a plan for your next steps in action of whatever you're going to do? How many times are you willing to fail until you succeed? how will you handle the failure so that you can go on and inspire others like Oprah? Your tenacity, your positive outlook. How are you going to handle all that? That is the personal thing. All of us fail. Failure is nothing. It's something we all do, but all of us handle it differently. That's what makes it personal. So I just want to kind of leave you thinking about that, thinking about how can I take what I'm learning from this and develop and grow from it and make it personal so that I can then succeed. Okay? So go out to the world, fail at all the things, and embrace the suck of failing, and then enjoy the success that you just never thought you could have because you took that failure and you learned from it. So I hope that something in there helps you or inspires you. Please leave some comments down below. Tell me about a time where you embraced the suck, or maybe a time you're planning to embrace the suck, or what are some things you have going on that you might may or may not succeed with. You might fail, and what are you going to do about it? So anything you can to go ahead and inspire the rest of us in the comments would be awesome. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Friday.